At this time, I call the November meeting of the County Commission to order. We have with us tonight the Reverend Ray Farrer, pastor of the Morningside Baptist Church here in Lincolnton, to give us our invocation. Reverend Farrer, we really appreciate you coming and being with us and giving us a little of your time. After the prayer, we'll remain standing, and Commissioner Collins will lead us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Let's bow and pray together. Lord, I'm not nervous to pray before this body, but I am rightly humbled to pray to the Lord and Creator of the universe. And we wouldn't be here, every one of us, if we didn't want to help folks. But we're not so foolish and arrogant to think we're smart enough to always know what to do. Lord, we want to pray for these commissioners, that they would look past what a man or a woman is wearing or not wearing. Look past whether they have money or not a cent. To see people that you've created with their hopes and their hurts, whether they come in fearful or fractious, whether they come in ill-informed, whether they come in with everything in order or nothing in order. Pray that these men would be able to decide, not just for the short term, but for the long term. Not just for a handout, but a real hand up for every one of the citizens of this county. And Lord, when they lay their heads on the pillow at night, let them, I pray, be able to say, not, I treated my fellow man the way I'd want to be treated, but I treated them the way the Lord would treat them. Give these men wisdom and strength, insight and compassion, patience with folks who are coming in to be heard, and patience with folks who don't know where to turn and don't know what to say. And bless them and their families. Help them to be wise, and help them to say, Lord, I did the way you led me for folks for whom you died. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When you talk.
You notice Commissioner Henderson is not here tonight. He is at home with the flu. I think he's got a pretty good case of the flu, so if you would, remember him in your thoughts and prayers too. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meetings. Is there a motion that we approve the minutes as sent to you?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
That's second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Item number 5. I have an addition that I would like to add to the agenda that I think was a little misunderstanding on my part, maybe council too, but anyway, we got it worked out. If you would, I would like for you to approve the placement of add the abandonment of a portion of Santee Road. That's on the Soap Creek subdivision to our public hearing along with the other one we have. Is there a motion that we add this addition to the public hearing part of our agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? There is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried. That is added to our agenda. Let me ask you out in the audience, can y'all hear us? I don't hear quite as well as others. Commissioner Collins says it's too loud. I didn't think it was loud enough, so want to be sure. Item 6 is the departmental reports, and we'll begin with 6A is the Office of Emergency Services, Director Casey Bruger.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. You have my printed reports. I have nothing to add to those. I will take any questions that you have, and then I do have one item after your question.
Okay, any questions, Director Bruger? If not, I know you have something that you need to talk to
Yes,
us
sir.
about
But
too.
before I got on leave next week, I wanted to bring before you the Emergency Management Performance Grant. It just opened up this week. Is the reason it wasn't in the work session, but this is a yearly grant that we get that offsets the cost of the emergency management director's salary basically every year. It's the total project cost. I apologize, I don't have a handout, but I can't download anything from the system that GEMA has. But total project cost is $37,934. That is $18,967 of federal money, and then the same for a local match, and that is in-kind money from the salary paid to me as the sitting EMA director. So we get credit for that. It's not a budget item that y'all have to pay out. This is, so I need an approval tonight to submit the application and for the board to accept that money when it comes in. It should be in the next 90 days or so. Again, this happens every year, and we go through this process to receive those funds.
The amount of it again is $10,934.
The overall project's $37,934, but
37,934. Okay.
federal share is $18,967, and the local share is $18,967.
Who do we apply with? What's the agency?
GEMA, the Georgia Emergency Management
Okay.
Agency. It is the Emergency Management Performance Grant. Happens every year.
And that is for what?
It offsets my salary.
Oh, yeah,
since I'm the city EMA.
we'll probably take this there now.
Yeah.
That's what I thought
I'm the
you
lowest paid director because of that. Federal government pays half mine.
said. Director Seymour, can you get a grant that'll pay part of your salary too? Okay, you heard the request that we allow him to apply for the grant with the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, better known as GEMA, for a total amount of $37,934 with counties participating.
As well as to receive those funds when they come in, Chairman.
As well as what?
To receive the funds when they come in.
And to receive the funds.
Is to make the application and to receive the funds when they come in.
I got you. Make the application and receive the funds. Johnny, mine's not working up here. I can't hear nothing. That was terrible to me. Now, you might be getting it in yours good, but I'm not getting it at all. All right, y'all heard the motion, understand the motion? I think I understand it too. All right, so a motion that we allow him to do this.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
I'll second.
motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Tankersley.
Has the amount changed any from last year, or the same amount?
I believe it's exactly the same. It went up about 4 years ago. I did a little extra work and the amount actually doubled. The federal share did.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Item 6B is the Recreation Department Director Latrell Glade.
Good evening, Chairman, Board of Commissioners, have my written notes in front of you.
We have his report. I think one of the things that we can point out, though, is we approved him, I think, last month for Sodco to do some work. You want to
Yes, sir.
mention that and tell us, I think, the
Yes,
start
sir.
and where we
They
are.
started working yesterday. They laser grade. Right now, they're still there. They turned the lights on because the bad weather's supposed to come in. So hopefully by the end of next week, We should be where we need to be.
But we're making
Good
progress.
already. It's looking good already.
Sounds good. Any questions, Director Glaze?
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Commissioner Collins?
Director Glaze, I'm looking at the advisory board meeting dated October 25th. We're going to have flag football and Little League at the same time.
Yes, sir, we're gonna help to advertise it right in there together. Hopefully we can get with the Little League board and try to just find alternate nights to get if the child wants to play both.
They will be able to play both.
Yes, sir. We did it with, Pop Warner football and soccer.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Director Glaze? Thank you. If you don't have anything else on the agenda, you're welcome to leave whenever you want to. 6C is the Finance Department Director, Ernie Dawes.
Chairman, Commissioners, you've got my credit reports. I do want to go over a couple of things, and then I have an additional item to add to my report. I would like to just highlight some of the balances of our major funds. So at the end of October, these are all cash in bank, so we had $2,985,721 in our general fund. We had $323,958 in our water reserve fund, $186,424 in our water fund, $676,324 in the SPLOST 6 fund, $657,493 in the SPLOST 7 fund, $555,615 in the solid waste fund, $1,448,919 in the American Rescue Plan fund, and $296,203 in our emergency fund, and we have $2 million in our Raymond James CD investment fund. The total of all of our funds, Chairman, we do have other funds, but these are the significant funds. The total balance, cash balance in all of our funds at the end of October was $10,210,001.
Okay, any questions to Director Seymour on his report? Director Dawes. There not being any, I think you have something else you
Yes.
need to bring to.
Chairman, Commissioners, we have two certificates of deposits totaling $128,708 on deposit locally. There is one CD at Farmer State with a current balance of $100,602, and one at Farmers and Merchants Bank with a balance of $28,106. Both of these CDs will mature within the next 60 days. The Farmers State Bank, the next 90 days. The Farmers State Bank matures at the end of this month on the 28th, and the Farmers and Merchants matures on January the 1st. Currently, each of these CDs earns 0.35% interest. The rollover interest at Farmers State will be 1%, and at Farmers and Merchants will be 1.05%. I'm asking the board to authorize the chairman and myself to roll these over into our Raymond James account. The current rate that we would be able to get on a one-year CD would be 4.5%.
Okay, the motion will be to roll these funds from Dover Partridge over. We're doing this simply to get more interest on the money, and give me and him the authority to work it out. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion? There not being any, that motion, we got a motion. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
6D is the Public Works Department Director, Robbie Seymour.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have my written reports.
I don't have anything to add to those unless you have questions. I'll be more than happy, to answer those questions.
Any questions, Director Seymour?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Clyde?
I was just gonna say on the permits, I guess the interest rates and the building materials started to take a toll
Yes,
on
sir.
the building permits and people, they were
Yeah, we've seen in the last 2 months kind of a downward turn. We've been averaging 10, 11, 12 a month. Last month it took a downturn, I think it had 6, and then this month 3. So, we are seeing some effect of the interest rate. Yes, we look at.
How we coming with Fishing Creek water?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Fishing Creek water, we took it over, is it doing,
It is doing well. We are in the process of changing, putting some meters in. You know, the weather's kind of hampered us today and probably tomorrow, but we are in the process. Everything's working out well.
would you update us on our Elmeg Road research?
Yes, sir. So we started resurfacing the list of roads that y'all approved at the beginning of the year on our Elmeg resurfacing. Bass Road and Bryce Reese Road were both resurfaced. Day before yesterday, Thankful Church was done. So the weather's kind of hampered. We still got a couple more roads. We've got Broad River Scenic Drive to do. We also have Graball Road to do, and then Greenwood Church. But we're gonna have to work around the weather a little bit.
Thankful Church, isn't it?
Thankful Church and Greenwood Church.
Greenwood's on it this year?
Yes, sir. Greenwood Church Road is also on there. We're having to work around the weather a little bit. It's gotta be 55 degrees and rising, but we feel pretty confident we'll get it in the next couple of weeks. And we ask that people be a little patient with us. They'll have to sit for about a week, and then, our contractor will come in and broom all the loose rock off, and then we will stripe them. So it may take us a couple of weeks to get it striped, but they will all be striped as well. Center line and white line.
Okay, any discussion, any questions, Director Seymour? Not, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Collins?
in looking through the paperwork that we were given, I got a page that says call for service October 2022. What is, I think I know what it is, but I guess I'm wondering what it is.
In my paperwork,
It's somewhere between finance,
It's in the finance.
I think Director Dawes has you an answer.
Chairman, Commissioner Collins, that is, we have started reporting our activity from the E911 since we have taken it under control. It now sits in my report. I apologize.
no, thank you, I kind of figured out that's what it was, and I was amazed at 1,115 in 1 month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll ask the clerk to pull that mic a little closer to you unless you go in. Is that microphone on at that podium? Okay, we'll do it from there. We have a special recognition tonight, a proclamation to present to a Lincoln County citizen, business owner, entrepreneur, husband, father. I don't know what else I can say about it. He has done something that we know, if anybody does know, let me know, but I think he's the only person in Lincoln County that we know of that has been recognized by Georgia Trend magazine with the 40 and 40. That means that you got to be 40 years of age under, and they only picked 40 across the entire state of Georgia. Mr. Kyle McLeod was honored with that a few weeks ago in Atlanta, and we wanted to recognize your accomplishment and what you have done and your business in Lincoln County. And Commissioner Clyde asked to prepare a proclamation for you, so we have done that, and I'll ask the clerk to read the proclamation, and I'll meet you here and I'll give it to you. Clerk, read it loud.
State of Georgia, County of Lincoln, a proclamation in honor of Kyle McLeod and Backpaddle Brewing by the Board of Commissioners of said county, acting by and through the Chief Executive Officer, the Chairman. Whereas Kyle McLeod has been named one of the state's brightest stars and outstanding young leaders as one of Georgia Trend's 40 under 40. And whereas Kyle grew up on a small farm in rural Michigan, working in small restaurants and diners. Following 11 years in the Navy, Kyle moved to South Bend, Indiana, where he attended culinary school at Ivy Tech Community College and spent 1 year apprenticing under the chefs at the University of Notre Dame. And whereas, after moving to the CSRA, he founded Max Street Eats Catering, where he specialized in Masters Week private chef service and a quarterly farm-to-fork beer pairing dinner in partnership with Savannah River Brewing. And whereas in 2018, Kyle, his wife Emily, and their sons Aiden and Finnegan began renovating the Nano Brewery here in Lincoln County, which opened to the public on October 9th, 2020. Backpaddle Brewing is a result of 15 years of planning, research, and hard work. And whereas Kyle is a contract analyst at Fort Gordon by day, his mission with the brewery is to support his community through his #BeerForGood program and donate to veterans organizations. And whereas Backpaddle Brewery features farm-to-table dining, sourcing beef, pork, and seasonal produce directly from Lincoln County farms, 2 of which are owned by Army veterans. Whereas, as at the request of Commissioner Clyde of the 3rd District, that this proclamation be delivered to Kyle McLeod for his selection as a 40 under 40 by Georgia Trend Magazine in their October 2022 edition. Now therefore, Walker T. Norman, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Lincoln County, do hereby deem it an honor and pleasure to extend the certificate of recognition to Kyle McLeod with sincere appreciation for his mission to support the community of Lincoln County and its citizens. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of the county to be affixed, done at the courthouse here in Lincolnton, Georgia, on this 10th day of November, 2022.
Kyle, on behalf of the commissioners, citizens of Lincoln County, we appreciate what you and your family are doing to public, serve the people of this county. We want to present this to you.
Thank you.
Do what you want to with it, you can target practice or whatever, but you stand right here and you can have a minute to speak and say what you want to say.
First, this is unexpected. I came because this is our annual alcohol license meeting. So, second, thank you, Commissioner Clyde. Thank you to the commissioners and Mr. Chairman. And thank you to my wife and my family. None of anything Backpaddle does could be done without them, without our staff out there. They work hard to make sure that my crazy ideas go from paper to actual fruition. So, and thanks to the folks here in Lincoln County who continue supporting us, especially in the fall and the winter time. I like to call the dark months when the tourists are gone. So we really appreciate that. It helps keep the lights on at not only the brewery, but a lot of local residents who work for us. So we really appreciate y'all more than anything. So thank you.
Thank you. You were surprised. You didn't know.
I did not. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Clyde.
I thought it was real appropriate too that it listed here that he donates some of his proceeds to veterans organizations, and we got Veterans Day tomorrow, so sure appreciate his contributions to that as well.
Okay, item 8 on your agenda is where we go into our public hearing. Is there a motion that we go into public hearing on 2 applicants for a variance request and one for the abandonment of a portion of Santee Street off of Indian Road to Soap Creek subdivision area. Is that a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is that a second? Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Collins. They were simultaneously, and I just chose which ones we'd do. Okay, any discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, the motion's carried. We in our public hearing. Director Seymour.
Yes, sir. On November the 7th, the Planning Commission heard the following request. The applicant was Brandon Biles, map 068, parcel 036, map 45, parcel 048, A and B, which consists of .45 acres, also known as 4861 Elberton Highway, currently zoned R2. He has requested a variance for a setback, and from 250 feet to 110 feet. That request was heard by my planning commission and recommended unanimously to approve it to this board.
Okay, you've heard the request from Director Seymour and the recommendation from our planning and zoning board that we grant the approval of this variance on this piece of property off Highway 79. Is there a motion that we accept the recommendation of the planning commission?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Mr. Biles, you can proceed, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been mighty patient. Hopefully you'll be up by Christmas. Santa Claus will come see you. Back home where you from. The next, well, I really did that wrong.
Yes, sir.
I really should have had that vote after we come out the public hearing. Don't leave yet, one of them might change their mind. Madam Clerk, if you will, we'll revote this one at the appropriate time. That's my apology. The next one is a request for the abandonment of a portion of Santee Street. I know that Attorney Turner Jones is here with us. Mr. Seymour, if you will, you can, and Mr. Jackson will take this if you need. Ms. Jones, she can come to the podium. Okay?
Yes, sir. We were approached, and I say we, my office was approached by actually two different people, Mr. Carruthers and the Sapps, about Santee Street and the possibility of abandoning that portion of the road. After looking at it and talking with council and with the chairman, we feel that this portion of the road does not serve any public interest. And so they have asked that this portion be abandoned and basically sold. And so what we've done is you've got a copy of the plat, parcel D or tract D, what we're calling tract D, which is the little small triangle portion, I think it's 0.11 acres, would remain county right of way. The Sewells own that piece of property in front of it, and that would leave them with full access to the entire width of their parcel to county right of way, as to not block them off. And then as the plat is drawn, tract B, which consists of 0.53 acres, would be abandoned by the county and sold off at fair market value, Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Turner Jones, do you have anything you want to come say? We'll just come to the podium. I know I've called your name, but if you will state your name again for the record.
Kristen Turner Jones. Good afternoon, gentlemen, Madam Clerk. I'm representing the Sapps, who own lot 149 and lot 135 in the subdivision. just for your information and reference, in regards to Santee Street, they purchased 135 and 149 under the guise that Santee Street had already been abandoned and that it was going to be in full part of their parcels. If you will look at the plat, if you need reference to a plat, Lot 135 sits on one side of the street, whereas 149 sits on the opposite side of the street. There have been buildings erected on Santee Street in between the two parcels that belong to the Saps. So, as Mr. Seymour already addressed, I do believe that this road has not been used by the public to any degree for quite some time. They do have fixtures already erected on there that were given county approval to be erected. So I do believe overall it is in the public best interest to go ahead and abandon the property. I also want to just notate for your reference and record that the Corps of Engineers did have a reversionary right in the property when we performed the title search. We contacted them, they sent us a letter essentially stating that Congress would have to approve the full disbursement of any reversionary interest they hold, but they have absolutely no interest in pursuing their reversionary interest. Their interest in it essentially is, should the county ever determine that the road was not, or was no longer to be considered a road or abandon it, then the right to take over that property, maintain and use that property would revert to the Corps of Engineers. They have essentially said it's not a road, it's more of like a thoroughway versus a access to the lake. And therefore, they're not ever going to act on that interest, that they don't want to go through the process of having to petition Congress and bother Congress with getting them to officially release it. But it would not come back on the county or any of the property owners if the county abandons it. They said that they're doing this with a lot of their lake subdivisions lately and just releasing those reversionary interests by letter saying we're never going to do it, and that is holding water pretty much nationwide. So I did want to just let you know about that reversionary interest. We, in regards to what we are required to do, we gave notice to the county that we were officially requesting abandonment. We sent notice, certified mail to the adjoining property owners, 2 of those lots being my clients. And then we sent a copy to the Corps of Engineer as well, even though they knew prior to that request to the county. And we received all of those receipts back. We also, at the same time, published for the required 2 weeks in the Lincoln Journal, and received, it finished its last run last week, so we were a little bit pressed with the Journal Messenger and getting the affidavit back, but we did get it back this afternoon via email. So as far as I'm aware, all of our conditions and requirements as the requesters of the abandonment have been met. Essentially, what the statutes require is that the county determine that it is not fit for public use and it doesn't serve any public use or interest. And if that condition is met and the notice requirements have been met, then the roadway is subject to abandonment. We have the testimony of Mr. Seymour determining that the property is no longer fitting for any public interest or public use. Therefore, I do believe at this time it would be appropriate to abandon it. So I would ask that the property be determined as abandoned and that you make the proper resolutions within the minutes to determine it as abandoned, and that whether it be tonight or in the very, very near future, we determine fair market value at your direction, however that may be, and we move forward with determining how we're going to move forward with disposal of the property. My clients are interested in purchasing the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You might not want to go too far. Mr. Jackson, do you have anything that you would like to say or add?
No, Mr. Chairman. It looks like all the requirements have been met for the publication and notification of parties.
Hold on just a minute. Let me say we are in our public hearing. So at this time, is anyone that would like to speak against the county abandonment of this particular road? Is anybody would like to speak against it? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of it? I'm sure Ms. Jones has. If you would, come to the podium, state your name and address.
Thank you for the privilege of doing this for the very first time. My name is Kent Carruthers, Carruthers Enterprises, current deed holder of 134. One of the 3 adjacent properties that are affected by this road release. So I came here tonight for the 40 feet and the 140 feet that are adjacent to Lot 134. I do not have any interest in the properties that are adjacent to the Saps property. So I do not have the information you have as far as the way it was divided. I was under the assumption that each property would obtain half.
Each property would what?
Each property would obtain half to the center of the road.
Mr. Seymour, you got anything you want to add to what he's saying?
No, sir, not at this time. I mean, the plat that was drawn.
Get closer to the microphone.
I'm sorry. No, sir, the plat that was drawn by Mr. Madison, I believe. And it shows the 2 tracks that you're seeing now, which is disposal of the whole property as one parcel. That's not to say that this board can't change the mind of the 2 parties, work it out between themselves as to how the division is done. But I think our responsibility is to abandon the whole track as one and then sell it. And, if the 2 parties can work a division out, then that would be acceptable, I believe.
Just as a side note, as Mr. Seymour pointed out, I think tonight's meeting and judgment is solely about the abandonment. The disposal as a seller, and Mr. Jackson can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would believe any form of the disposal price, subdivision, anything like that, it remains with the seller's decision. So as far as what parcel, how much of the parcel goes to whom, that would remain with the seller, which would be the county, to decide at that time. But I do believe that is determined by the price point and whether it's more beneficial to the county as a whole to sell it as the entire parcel that you abandoned or as subdivided parcels. That would be my understanding of the statutes at this point in time. I would defer to Mr. Jackson as he's much more knowledgeable as to the county's requirements.
Mr. Jackson, is it not true that we got two ways to do this? We can either abandon the road, which we know we're gonna abandon the road.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's what we recommend, and I have no problem with that.
Yes, sir.
I think where we are now is, with what Mr. Caruth is saying, are we going to abandon this road, set a fee on it, and that's what we're taking? I know we take not less than $100. Normally, we get $100 for it.
Yes, sir.
If he wants it, and Mr. Sapp wants it, or a portion of it, do you go to the center line of the road and everybody gets what's on the other part of that road, or do you take bids on it and they decide who wants to pay the most for it, or how did we do that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, 2 things. First of all, at this point, the only purpose is to decide whether or not to vote to abandon the property. It's really not a point that he should get this or they should get that. The purpose at this point is should the old road be abandoned or not. If the commission votes to abandon the property, the statute specifically says the commission, since this is worth less than $75,000, the commission...
We'll take that for it.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The statute says if it's under $75,000, the commission can negotiate to do it. So the commission can decide to split it to sell it in one piece, bid it out, anything you want to do. At this point, after it's abandoned, it's anything this commission wants to do.
Okay. So that would be our motion. Commissioner Tankersley.
As far as tonight goes, we only have one thing we can move on.
That's to abandon, vote to abandon the road.
Yeah.
Then the other details will be worked out, hopefully, and we can decide that in December,
Correct.
because we only meet once a month.
Right.
Is it anybody here that would like to say anything concerning this? If you would, come to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
My name is Scott Sewell. I'm here with my father, Carl Sewell, who owns Lot 136. And we've talked with Robbie, and I'm comfortable about this, but as the conversation's going on, I keep hearing about the road, and I don't want to vote to go forward stating that we're abandoning all of Santee Road without defining strictly Track B and Track B.
We not.
So, for the record and for the minutes, I just want to make sure we're clear.
I understand that, I know what you feel, and we're gonna see to it that you're not landlocked or blocked to your road. What we will do is, y'all can tell me how this motion needs to be done. If not, I'm just saying a portion of Santee Road in the deed will reflect the portion that we abandoned. Is that correct? So everything in front of your property, Mr. Sewell, that's not gonna be a part of the abandonment. It'll be at your property line.
I'm just hearing whole road abandoned.
I understand that. So that's what all right, so correct me, Mr. Jackson, if my motion is not correct. The motion is to abandon a portion of Santee Street that's reflected in the deed of what we would have. And the clerk, y'all can put that to be sure is in the record, right?
And the plat, it's my understanding that,
The deed and the plat.
that Mr. Madison has prepared a plat splitting up that road, so if that's the issue, then I would say that it would be adopted per the plat that Mr. Madison prepared on.
The plat and the deed, or just the plat?
There's not a deed yet.
The
Okay.
plat is,
That's what I'm calling the
If I may,
deed.
for the clerk's record, the plat is, the field work was dated October 18th, 2022. The plat was completed October 25th, 2022. Completed by, and signed by Jim Madison IV. Real estate license, surveyor license, number 2701. And it's titled The Boundary Plat for Larry and Annie Sapp. That will all be required for the deed, so.
Okay, so the motion is that we are voting to abandon the portion of road that's in the plat, the new plat that Mr. Madison did with the date she just said.
Track B.
yes, sir.
So we're abandoning a portion, and we're gonna be sure, Mr. Sewell, we say a portion of Santee Street as will be recorded with the plat.
Track B.
And I think that's like 400 and something feet, is that right?
It's
Yeah,
titled
Track
as
B,
Track B.
Track B of that.
So what we doing is just exactly what this map's showing us.
That's correct.
Okay, you heard the motion. Is there a motion that we abandon the portion? Excuse me. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I got you. I do it every time. Looks like after 30-something years, I don't know. Okay, with nothing else to be said, we will vote to come out of our public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion to come out of our public hearing? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Now we out of our public hearing. I'm gonna come back to you, Mr. Biles, but while this is fresh on my mind, I'll be sure we get this motion right. Again, the motion is to abandon a portion of Santee Street as reflective on the plat, the current latest plat
Yes, sir.
that we have.
And, Mr. Chairman, I would add, just to follow the statute, that the motion say that the road has ceased to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by it.
Okay. Got it. All right, I think we all understand what was, yeah, you're gonna have to come back to the podium, though.
Chairman, while we wait, I believe the statute also requires it to be specifically stated that it is resolved. I'd hate to be that finicky, but a specific use of the word resolution, it is resolved, is required by the statute that the road is abated.
Okay. So you want the word resolution?
Resolution resolved, however y'all would like to, but
Mr.
just to
Peru?
make sure all the records.
I stand completely with the getting rid of the road, but I do not agree with the current way that the plat is laid out.
You don't agree with what?
The way that the plat has been drawn.
It's just a plat. It hadn't been recorded.
Okay, 2 of the 4 owners adjacent to this road have not seen it.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Okay, Madam Clerk, have you got the motion?
I don't have a vote first and a second on that motion. I have a motion to come out of public hearing, but not a motion to vote on that abandonment.
We didn't get a motion?
No, sir.
Or a second.
Huh?
Or a second.
Oh, Lord, we just voted without it. It was our motion. I thought Collins made it, that was public hearing. Our motion, and we abandon this portion with all the stuff we talked about is in the minute book. The abandonment of a portion of this road with plat and the resolution.
So moved, Mr.
Is
Chairman.
there a second?
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tanksley, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Clyde?
so we abandoned right in the portion, and it's flat, and we good with that, and everybody understands what we're abandoning. The problem is coming up is how it's gonna be split. But that will be determined at a later date after we all get together and decide and they agree. We give them time to look at it and try to work something out or something in the meantime. Does that sound right? And then they'll come back before us, before we actually deed it over to.
Right, we'll vote next month to do the deed over.
Gotcha. I just want to make.
Between there and next month, hopefully, the parties will be able to get together and decide how they want it done. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Now we got a vote.
Yeah, I just want to be sure anybody else won't say that. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. All right, Mr. Biles, we coming back to you. You heard the request in the public hearing on the recommendation of the planning commission that we accept that recommendation on the variance, Mr. Biles. Is there a motion?
I make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Thank you, Brandon. Item 9 is Sheriff's Office Communications and Body Cameras. Mr. Grant, you here every month, so you know the rules. State your name and your address. You have 5 minutes.
Name's Greg Grant, 1056 Feaster Lane, Lincoln, Georgia. There had been talk for a while, deputies, people in law enforcement about our communications, and I know there are dead areas in the county, and I know we can't afford a $14 million trunk system like they have in Richmond County, what they just put in. But I got a phone call that there was an altercation at our school, at our high school. Now, so when they responded at high school, that's going to be city and county deputies. So we're limited in resources here, and I think we can all agree to that. They had an altercation at the school. It was a juvenile they were trying to restrain. The deputy was trying to call out on his portable. Couldn't reach anybody, and had to have somebody in the administration call 911 for help. I did go to the school and I did verify this. For some reason nobody ever wants their name brought up, but it is been verified, and I'm sure y'all can look it up on 911. So I just think it's something that needs to be looked into. I don't see a lot about our communications being brought up here lately, so it's just something that I think is a necessity to deputies, especially, we usually only have 2 deputies working in the county. If they go to a domestic dispute call, and for God knows, like that Richmond County that got shot last night, somebody gets shot, can't get back to their patrol car and call for help, it's not a bad way. That's a bad way to be. So, moving on along. As far as the body cameras, I'm hearing about deputies or public having issues, so I thought that it may be just brought up, and I'm just going to read about the pros of having body cams. I'll just leave it at that. Recording interactions with residents is likely to minimize complaints about police officers' behavior and unnecessary use of force because there is a record of the interactions of everyone to see. Both officers and citizens may tend to be more restrained in knowing that the camera is capturing their words and actions. The use of a camcorder while deputies, the use of the camcorder provides hard video evidence of decisions made by officers in high-intense situations. The footage is extremely valuable when piecing together what actually happened. Video recorded by body cams helps protect police officers and citizens against false accusations, claims of misconduct, and/or abuse. Increasing transparency and accountability of the officers. It may help in prevent and de-escalating confrontational situations between officers and civilians. It may help provide valuable evidence in obtaining accurate witness and victim statements. And video footage may help speed up the court process in providing indisputable proof of situations. This may lead to a reduction in court expense. For example, it may also help increase pretrial plea bargains and possibly increase the rate of convictions. So that was kind of where I was at on that. Like I said, I got in this because people call, people talk, and I just want to make sure that it gets addressed. I know if we were a large sheriff's department and we had, 30, 40 deputies, that would be extremely costly. But as small as our sheriff's department is, I think that could be something that should be taken into, account that, it's not going to be, the cost of them are dropping as time goes by. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to make a little comment, though, on this. I don't get the calls that Mr. Grant gets. I would kind of appreciate if you'd just refer them to call me. And let, instead of sending you up here, they need to call and talk to me and let me know what their feelings are. Part of this don't even need to come to me. It needs to go to sheriff. A lot of things don't happen because of the county commission. We have 10 department heads and 4 constitutional elected officers, and we got very little say-so to do with the constitutional office. Let me state for the record, though, that on the communications that we are very well aware, not tonight, it wasn't brought up the first time that we have heard it. Mr. Grant was in my office 2 weeks ago talking to me about it, and I'm going to tell you about basically the same thing that I told him then. We got the same communication system in Lincoln County today we've had for the last 15 years. We updated it when I was in here before, sometime around 2007, 8, and nothing's been done to it basically of much since then. I talked to 3 counties in the last few days about communications. They are McDuffie, Warren, and Wynne. They have the same exact setup for communications for their public safety as Lincoln County does and most of Georgia's counties. Now, we do not have the same setup that Columbia County does. I'll put it on the ballot and let the people vote if they want us to spend $8 million, which is what McDuffie's been looking at for the last few years. Our total yearly budget's not but $8 million. It costs $8 million to do anything much different than what we're doing with our communications. We can, and we probably will, look at putting a repeater in each of the sheriff's cars that walkie-talkie will come back to. I listen to a radio most of the time. I have one in my house and in my car. I have not had the first deputy sheriff to come to me about problems with communications other than Captain Taylor just a few weeks ago, when we had problems with a bleed over from a county in North Georgia, Cleveland, Georgia, White County is who it was. And once it came to our attention, in the matter of less than 48 hours, Director Broom back there, who handles our communications, traced it down and found out what the problem was, and that county was bleeding over on us. And we simply asked them if they would work with us on it. They did. As far as I know, that's been corrected. But I haven't had not anybody to come to me that's concerned about communication. Now, I know we got a few deputies that talk to you, and they're about it. They need to talk to the sheriff, and the sheriff needs to talk to me. Then I'll talk to the county commissioners. Communications is not a serious problem in Lincoln County, and it's no problem unless you're on a handheld radio. If you in your sheriff's car and you key that mic and put it up to your mouth, which most of them don't do, and put it up to your mouth, you have no problems with it. Now, you do have a problem if you're too far out and you're on a walkie-talkie. We are looking at, I can tell you what it costs, and it's not much. But we're looking at putting a repeater in that car so when they're out of that car, it'll go back into it. But all this takes time, and it takes time to run it through the different departments and get everything worked out. Communications, in my opinion, is no worse than it's been in this county for many, many years. I don't know why they didn't fix it before I came back, but we have a little problem with walkie-talkies. If they up in the north end of Lincoln County, or could be down at Clyde's Crossing, that far out. In that car, we have no problem with it. But communications is not something that just happened tonight. We've been discussing communications, I guess, 4 months, the last 4 months. So we're working on something to do. We've even talked to Columbia County. We've talked to other Verizon Tower people to put the stuff on them. To put the microwave systems on they got, we had to have a study done. But you're going to be looking somewhere around $5 to $6 million to get that done. That's what it'd take to do what obviously some of these people want us to do. We don't have the money to do that. We simply don't have the money. But our communication system is no different than the surrounding counties around us except for Columbia. Got the same exact thing. Now, let me hit a little bit on body cameras. I don't know whether you know this because you don't know a lot of things. We approved in the budget that was approved in September, late September of this year, $22,873 for tasers and body cameras. That's been done. It's been done. But I don't want body cameras sitting in the trunk of a car like a lot of bulletproof vests do. My concern with body cameras, as of the sheriff, Captain Taylor, and others have talked about, we are working, the sheriff's department, not us, but the sheriff's department is working on a policy for body cameras. Body cameras can come back to haunt you just as much as they can come back to help you. And if you don't have policies and procedures and they are being followed, the county can have a terrible liability with body cameras. I have said for 2 years that we ought to have body cameras. 2 years that I've been talking body cameras. So this ain't the first night we've heard anything about body cameras. It's in the budget. We are going to buy body cameras once everything is in place for us to do. But until those things are in place, we're not going to do it. But we have voted and put it in. So both of these things that you talked about, Mr. Grant, we're working on, been working on. We didn't start, I don't want nobody to think that we started tonight. We started a long time ago in getting this done. You have a means and you have an end. We've been working on the means, and the end is not too far down the road, hopefully, as long as we got a policy that the county attorney will be viewing that we think protects Lincoln County government and its taxpayers without just jumping out and doing something. But nobody has been to Walker Norman as the chairman of the county commission that sits down there 8 hours a day just about, 5 days a week. My telephone number, cell numbers on my cards. Nobody has called me. So the next time somebody talks to you, I would appreciate it if you just ask them to call me and let me hear from some of them. I'd rather hear from some of them. So I just want for the record to know that the county commissioners are not sitting on our laurels doing nothing. It is already in the budget and approved. Okay? All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 10. Madam Clerk, the Honorable Clerk of our Superior Court, Juvenile Court, is with us tonight to talk to us about a scanning project. She has done an excellent job as Clerk of Court, and she does an excellent job of keeping our Clerk of Court's office with all of your records in safe condition, and this is what she's talking about tonight. Madam Clerk, you got the floor.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm asking for, approval for a scanning imaging project that's for the Clerk of Superior Court's office for all of our property records dating back to the early 1900s, and if we go up to 1986. They're already, the records from 87 up to present are already online, and they wanted to go back to, the Clerk's Authority is asked to go back further and go back to the early 1900s, and CoFile, who was the vendor who will be taking care of this and indexing, once everything has been imaged, they'll index and have everything online for attorneys, abstractors, banks, anybody who has access to it through the Clerk's Authority. As far as I know, the monies are in the budget, but I'm just asking for approval from the county commissioners.
Okay, we discussed this in our work session last week, so we're familiar and we know what we're talking about. I'm gonna try to move it on, but we have budgeted in our budget again, this amount of money, I think $76,000.
Correct, yes, sir.
And she is simply asking that we go ahead and give her the authority to go ahead and purchase this out of the budget that she's had approved. I don't think we see a problem with it. Is there a motion that we approve this?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tangley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion is carried. Item number 11 on the agenda is the Georgia Power Grant Rebate Director. Pardon? She is the director that runs the county's library. Does an extremely good job, and she's always looking for some grants or some help for us. We appreciate that. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Chairman, Commissioners, I was just asking for permission tonight to apply for the Georgia Power rebate to continue upgrading the lights in the library. 2 years ago, we upgraded about 45 of them, and this will be the rest of the lights in the library out in the DOVA Annex, the computer lab, and our genealogy lab.
Okay, and we also discussed this with her at the work session. I'll ask for a motion to allow Director Pardon to apply for the grant rebate with Georgia Power.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried. Item number 12, the FY23 DHS Coordinated Transportation Agreement. Director Nancy Blunt. Director Blunt is the director of our Department of Leisure Services, which handles the senior citizens, the transit, and leisure services. And she's always after something too, and most of the time finds a way to fund it. Director Blunt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. We discussed the DHS Coordinated Transportation contract that we received for $45,000. DHS is contracting with DINA Specialties. But there have been a couple of changes I just got it. I printed it as we came, just before I came. On 3A, the third line item says that we will only transport e-trips to assigned location. And your new one says medical appointments and group trips. This is the van that we use our leisure services for. Okay, so this is the one we discussed, extra work search.
So that's included in the you when y'all handed
new
out
one.
to us? That's
Yes,
the
sir.
only change in it then?
Okay, on item 4, they were gonna require that we, take a class for universal precautions for STDs and HIVs, infectious disease. I question it because it is not a DHS requirement. And so they took it out of our contract. So we do not have to do that.
So item 4 under training is out?
Not the whole thing, just
Just
that
the part
one
of
line
the,
item.
just the part of the STDs and HIV?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Just that part.
okay.
On the next page, on line 10B, on the contract you have, they have updated it to say that our reports are due on the 15th of the month instead of the 3rd of the month, because the state does not drop our invoices until the 8th of the month. So that gives us a little bit longer to do reports.
That it?
That's the only change, and you know, we talked about the price. After discussing the rate with Director Doss, and he said that we can live within this budget.
Yeah, so we're going with the $22 and not negotiate.
Right.
That's correct. Because we're about the top of it anyway, it's not any room for negotiation much is what's determined, right? Since we met last week.
Yes, sir.
All right, the motion is gonna be to approve up to the $45,000 for the transit on the new agreement. Now, you have the new agreement, Clerk McKellar? Okay,
Yes, sir. I gave all of y'all one.
yeah. I got it. I want to be sure she had it too, so we get rid of this one and go with the new one. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Item number 13 will be the CSRA Regional Commission Memorandum of Understanding for Meals. Director Blunt.
Okay, y'all know that we have had issues since we changed over to a new vendor. And so the Regional Commission is sending us a check for $1,050.10. Just a separate check. We don't know really where this came from, but that, to provide meals for the seniors.
Okay, what we need is a motion that we accept $1,005.10 from the Regional Commission to help with a hot meal for our senior citizens.
Yes, yes,
Is
sir.
there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion?
Just one quick thing.
Commissioner Clyde.
She said 1,050 when she said it, but it's actually 1,000.
1,005.
I just want to make sure.
1,005.10.
Gotcha.
All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion's carried. Item number 14 is alcoholic beverage license renewals. Clerk McKellar.
Yes, sir. We have 3 businesses coming before the board tonight. They have all met their requirements. The first one would be Mr. Sam Patel for LW's Bait and Tackle for Class A license beer and wine off premises.
Okay, you heard the clerk from LW's Bait and Tackle Beer and Wine Off Premises. They have motion that we renew the license for another year.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
That's second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Clerk McKellar.
The second one would be Mr. Kyle McLeod for Backpaddle Brewing for a Class E brewery with consumption on premises.
You heard the request from the clerk, Backpaddle Brewing, brewery with consumption on premises. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Clerk McKellar.
The third one for tonight is Miss Penny Warren with Willie Max for a Class C liquor, beer, and wine on premises.
You heard the request from the clerk on Willie Maximus, Penny Warren, owner of liquor, beer, and wine on premises license. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tangley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Item number, congratulations to all of you that are here. Number 15 is the CSRA probation service contract. That's Chairman Norman, right? Okay, we discussed this the other week too, I think. That was in there, I'm not sure. But it's a contract that we do every year. It's just a renewal of the contract for the probation service at the probate court. And they'll submit their reports. Now, it is just for the probate court, is that correct? Yeah, it is. This is where we contract with them. There's no cost to the county. But we have to have it. I need a motion to approve the contract with the CSRA Probation Service Incorporated and to give me the authority to sign on behalf of the board the contract, which is also signed by the probate judge and by the Chief Executive Officer of CSRA. Is that a motion?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion?
Please, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Clyde.
Yeah, is this pretty close to what we were paying, do y'all know, or just probate court? I mean, I know no cost to the county.
There's no cost to the county. I guess those fines are basically the same.
That's what I was wondering too, is this,
The clerk of court shaking her head, we right.
yeah.
Go, she gets it too.
All right, thank you.
And they pay us a little every year. So that works out pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item number 16 is board appointments.
Hey, did we take a vote on that, or did we?
No.
Yeah, we did.
All in favor of the motion, let it be known, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion is carried. And that's the reason we have good folks to keep me straight. Between the clerk and these commissioners, they're not gonna let me mess up here. I'm glad, I'm proud for them too. Item 16 is board appointments, Commissioner Tankersley,
Library Board.
Library Board.
Paige Reed.
Who?
Paige Reed.
Page
Reed. Page.
Neil's wife.
Right.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Tankersley to appoint Paige Reed, District 4 representative on the Library Board. Is there a motion? We got a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Commissioner Tankersley, appointment to the DFAC Board.
Allie Driver.
Allie Driver. Have a motion by Commissioner Tankersley to appoint Allie Driver to the DFAC Board, represent District 4. Is there a motion? A second, I mean.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second by Tankersley and Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Hardest motion we ever get. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Tankersley. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, and we stand adjourned.